Helen Yee here with Eyes on the Game, being joined by the one and only Ben Askren in front of your favorite training machine, the skier.
All right.
Oh, high numbers.
Just a couple reps. What's your record on that thing?
I'll tell you when the cameras are off.
Okay. Got it.
Maybe we'll have a ski off.
Well, I like the rower or maybe the Aerodyne bike. I like those a lot too.
I like the bike too, yeah. And the rower, that's definitely my go-to. But you are fighting Jake Paul on April 17th. He has a lot of social media followers. He has a huge social media fan base. So for you, did you notice any growth in your social media following since this fight's been announced?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely grown. That's for sure. The one thing that, because I didn't know anything about them, right? I kind of heard the names Logan and Jake Paul, but I couldn't have told you what do they do, right? I wouldn't have known. I can't believe how many people hate him. Like, no one likes him. Like, I have never, ever been in a fight before in my life and so many people came up and say, Ben, kick his ass. Ben, knock him out. We can't stand that guy. We hate that guy. Like, no one likes it. I can't find anyone that likes this guy.
Well, speaking of knocking him out and whatnot, you're normally very easygoing. You handle pressure very well. But what do you make of the fact that a lot of people are kind of seeing this, or like the MMA community saying, you know what, Ben Askren's representing the MMA community? I mean, is that kind of a lot of pressure to handle?
I don't really see it. So if they want me to do that, that's fine. Yeah. I think a lot of them just hate Jake Paul and want to see Jake Paul get beat up. But I don't ever feel like the MMA community is that tight-knit, right? Like, I might feel that way about wrestling, right? And I'm in that community. It's smaller and it's really tight-knit. But MMA, I've always felt like there was a lot of competing factions and people not liking each other and a lot of heat. And I've never really felt that close to me. I liked all of my teammates I've ever trained with. I'm pretty close with the majority of them. But, like, I don't feel a ton of camaraderie with certain other random MMA fighters.
Well, you did work with Coach Freddie Roach for about a week. I do know you kind of elaborated with the Schmo about that, but were there any boxers that he brought in to kind of help you?
Yeah, oh yeah, there was a couple. The one guy was really good. I had to tell him, hey man, like, don't kill me or nothing. You fought for a world title. Gabe Rosado. Oh, yeah, he was really good. Yeah. So I had to say, man, listen, I'm not trying to beat you up. I'm just trying to beat Jake Paul up. So let's just make sure that's the level we're on. He was tremendous, and he helped me out afterwards and everything. Yeah, it was great. And then I got to watch a lot of other high-level guys spar also, and that was really cool to see.
Well, Tony Ferguson has also been...
Tony Ferguson was there, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. What's that encounter been like?
Tony's Tony. Tony's interesting. He was cool, yeah.
Did you get a chance to train with him, or was it just kind of passing by?
No, it was... I never trained with him. But he was there, I'll say half of the days I was there, maybe. I saw him there. Yeah. I talked to him a few times, and I know he's got a big fight coming up also. So, it was cool.
Yeah, he has a huge fight against Beneil Dariush coming right up. But
that's soon, right? In April, maybe? Or
May.
May, okay.
But switching gears a bit, last time when we had you on our podcast, The Schmo Zone, you told me that you felt Khabib was the number one pound for pound, and you kind of explained why. Now, what?
Uh-oh.
No,
I know a lot of people disagree with me on that one.
But a lot of people agreed with you as well.
Okay, well, that's fair. A lot of people disagree with me. And listen, they have good arguments. You know, when you say, like, Jon Jones has X amount of title defenses, or Anderson Silva did, or whoever, right? Because there's a bunch of people who have more than him. Man, it's a really good argument, but I still think when you look at Khabib's body of work, it's so clean, it's so flawless, it's hard not for me to think of him as one of the greatest of all time. And I know there's a lot of people who disagree with that sentiment.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to ask you about. Now that Dana White officially said that Khabib is retired, where do you rank him amongst the greatest of all time?
Yeah, man, I said that's tough. I think depending on, I made this list a while back of, there's kind of 7 guys who, depending on the way you think about it, right? Because some people think about, like, the highest peak that they ever reached. For example, Anderson Silva, his peak was way up there. Yeah. But then he kept fighting, and, he kind of came down, and so a lot of people hold that against him, right? Or, Jon Jones, he obviously has really never lost. We'll say never lost. But he has a PED offenses against him, right? So some people hold that against him. So depending on what you hold the most valuable, you might come up with some different conclusions, because I don't think there's a cut and dry answer. But I think for me, because of how flawless Khabib was with his career, and it wasn't necessarily ever really his fault that some of those fights didn't happen. There's a few injuries in there, and then just a few kind of bad circumstances. In
your former division, the welterweight division in the UFC, there's a big rematch coming up between Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. How do you see that fight playing out?
Well, I didn't like that booking, actually.
Why not?
Well, I said this also, and I got a lot of pushback, and I was really surprised. To me, or to the scorecards, that was a 50-43 fight, right? George won no rounds. He won 0, and he lost 10-8 on 2 of them. And you had Colby versus Usman, which was 2-2 going into the 5th round. Colby ended up getting knocked out, but it was really competitive. Colby has won a fight since then. George has not, right? And so it's like, listen, and obviously there could be some stuff behind the scenes that I'm not seeing, because that's not my job. That is preventing Colby from getting another shot. And well, nobody likes Colby, so no fans are like, oh shit, we wanted Colby to get the shot, because nobody actually likes him. But even me, who doesn't like him, thinks like, well, that probably would have made a lot more sense.
Michael Chandler, one of your good friends, your old college teammates, he's fighting Charles Oliveira. How do you see that fight unfolding?
Yeah, that's good. That's a really good one, because I didn't think Oliveira was. I mean, I knew he was good, but I didn't know he was that good. And then when he killed Tony Ferguson, that was like an eye opener for me. Man, it's a tough one. Actually, I feel like Michael has an advantage on his feet, and I feel like he has an advantage with the wrestling, where he will be able to keep it in the standing position. Yeah. That division is interesting too, because I think they said Poirier bypassed the title shot to fight Conor again, which is like, Dana said that was a great move, and I think like, oh man, that shows kind of the flaws in the system of mixed martial arts from a competitive architecture point. If you're competing in something, you always want to get to the top of it. But here's someone saying like, well, I don't really want to get to the top, because I want to go make more money over here at a point which is not the top, right? And so like, to me, and I don't want to disrespect Oliveira, because he's won 8 in a row and he's great, right? But I think Michael versus Dustin is a more interesting fight than Michael versus Oliveira is.
Well, when you say Michael versus Dustin, do you think that Dustin will beat Conor in their trilogy?
Gotta think so, right? Probably.
How?
I just think he was so convincing, and I think Conor's got to the point, and he doesn't want to admit this, and his fans don't want to admit this, but it's happened not only with him, but with many other athletes. When they make the amount of money he made, and when they get the amount of fame he's had, it's fucking hard to go train like a madman, right? I mean, that's something that we do. Even me being older now, like I can be very disciplined with my training, but I don't have that same fire I did when I was 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. And then if you have, I'm relatively well off, but if you have $100 million or whatever he has in the bank, and then you see him on these private yachts everywhere, and things like, man, it's got to be hard for him to want to train hard. And that's kind of what we saw in the Dustin fight. He looked good for, I don't know, 5-ish minutes or so, and then Dustin started eating up his leg, and then put him out in the 2nd round.
Well, speaking of making a lot of money, you've told multiple media outlets that in this fight you'll be making a lot of money. So is it safe to say, or I guess not say, that will you and Jake Paul after the fight be playing some disc golf?
No. Well, I mean, listen. I don't want to judge him from what I see. He does not look like the kind of guy I would hang out with. Maybe I'm reading things wrong. I know sometimes people come across way different on screen than they're in real life. I would play disc golf. If Jake Paul wants to, be cool and play disc golf, we can play disc golf.
What about, weren't you supposed to play with Logan?
His brother. Yeah, and then his brother said he didn't want to make Jake sad or some shit, and so they didn't come out and play.
And lastly, for all your fans who will be tuning in on April 17th, what would you like to let them know?
We're going to have a great time on April 17th. Come watch the circus.
Will Jake Paul be getting boom roasted?
Most likely, yeah.